Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll let everybody hop on. How you doing today? This lovely Tuesday afternoon. We're going to be talking about mom stress because it's a whole nother kind of stress, right? So I have my stress away because it has the word stress in the title. So like what other oil would I use today? I have it in the diffuser. I have it going everywhere. So that's my oil for today. Deep breaths. Okay. Hey Tara, we're going to talk about stress today. Every mom has stress, right? Okay. So mom stress is like a whole different category, whole different level of stress. And when you're a mom, you get that. Everyone in this group is moms, so we all know what we're talking about, right? This is one of my favorite mugs. It's LL Bean mug from when we lived in Maine. It's one of my favorite. I told you I was a mug fanatic. Okay. So being an empowered mom doesn't mean we don't deal with stress. It's still there. We're still going to deal with it, right? It's still going to exist. It's a part of life. So we can't completely avoid it and create this Zen perfect life. That's not going to happen. So we all have areas of our lives that we allow stress to creep in and overwhelm us, right? Stress can take over and get in the way of all the good things that are going on. So stress is going to be there, and we just have to learn how to deal with it so that it doesn't get in the way of all the good stuff. So first, we're going to talk real quickly about what stress does to our bodies, because I think it's really important to understand why stress is an issue. Okay, so it's not just it's a bummer, we're stressed, no, it's an issue like for our physical bodies, okay? So stress releases adrenaline and cortisol in our bodies, cortisol. And this is okay in small doses, okay? Because God designed our bodies to work this way. And he did that way so that we could deal with emergencies. We needed that adrenaline or that cortisol to deal with emergencies. It's kind of like that fight or flight response, if you've heard of that. So there's a purpose for it, right? It makes your heart beat a little bit faster. It gets your blood pressure up. It makes your breathing a little bit quicker. Your muscles tighten up. Things like that. Things you feel when you feel stress. So, but the problem is when this happens for an extended period of time, prolonged period of time, or you're just in a constant state of stress, constant state of fight or flight, it could result in more serious illnesses or conditions, okay? So chronic stress, what does chronic stress do? This is what we're talking about. Chronic stress can suppress the immune system. You guys, we do not need that right now, okay? I know some of you may watch this at a much later date, but in our current situation right now, the last thing we need is a weak immune system, right? Okay, so stress, which comes at us from all angles right now, can actually cause our immune system to get weaker, which is just kind of this like snowball thing, all right? So it can also upset the digestive system. It can also interfere with reproductive system and hormones. Have you ever known someone, and maybe you've even gone through this yourself, where you were like trying to get pregnant and you were so stressed about trying to get pregnant that you couldn't get pregnant? And then once you like let go of it and you just kind of released it, then you got pregnant? Or you know someone that happened to? I do. I know several people that happened to. So like stress can actually affect our reproductive system. It can cause increased risk for heart attack or stroke. It speeds up the aging process in general. It can create skin issues, sleep issues, increased pain, cognitive issues like thinking clearly, or memory issues. We deal with that a lot as moms, I think. And so stress can make that worse. It can exacerbate autoimmune issues, weight issues. It actually rewires the brain, which can create anxiety and depression, or just make it worse. Okay. So how do we handle stress so that it doesn't affect our health in these ways? Okay, number one, we're going to talk about 3 things. Number one, we need to have a go-to stress reducing activity, like in our back pocket. Like, we just need to know what these activities are for us that help reduce stress. Okay. So you need to know what helps you. What helps you is not going to be what helps me, and vice versa. So it could be something physical. It can be a sport, running, Lauren, yoga. Something physical tends to help a lot of people because of the endorphins it releases. So that can be very helpful. So it's physical. It can be for your soul, something for your soul. So it can be prayer, meditation, listening to your favorite music, anything that feeds your soul. Okay. I like the idea of listening to music that feeds your soul, because sometimes that connects us to a more joyful time in our life when maybe we weren't so stressed. And those connections can be made in our brain and help us to feel better. Okay. Something for your mind. So reading, learning something new. Sometimes that can be a stress reducer for people, because it takes our mind off of what we're dealing with in the moment as well. Something creative. This is a big one for me. Something like drawing, painting, writing, crochet, knit, things like that. I actually go to crochet as a stress reducer, because I have TMJ, and the actual act of crocheting helps my jaw relax. Isn't that strange? But I found this out, and now I try to make sure I do it on a regular basis to help relax my jaw. So find out what works for you. Okay. It can be something specifically for yourself. So just a massage, a day at the spa, the salon, just time away, doing whatever it is to pamper yourself, even if it's just something really small. Okay. A simple treat that you love. Go take yourself out to get something just for you. It can be a guilty pleasure. So my guilty pleasure is watching BBC British stories. Like, I call them my stories. But I love Acorn TV, and I'll watch all the British shows. Okay. So that's my guilty pleasure. And sometimes when I just need to just shut down and not think about anything else, that's something I go to. So figure out what those things are for you and just have them in your back pocket. Just know ahead of time, like, if I'm feeling this way, if my stress is overwhelming me, I need to do one of these things to help release that. Okay. That's number one. Number two, we need to build in breathing room. Okay. So you know you're going to need it. We all know that we're going to need breathing room. So we need to build it into our schedule ahead of time. We need to create margin for the stress that we know is going to come. Because like we said, it's going to come. We all know it's going to come. So when we pack every moment of every day with something, because we're trying to be super productive, right? We have no space left for the unexpected. So then the emergencies pop up, right? So as soon as there's something extra that comes up, or there's a stressful situation that comes up, and we have to deal with it, then bam, we immediately cross over that line of what we can handle well. And we're now in fight or flight mode, right? So we have to build in breathing room or margin so that we can be prepared for those circumstances that come up, those stressful situations. Okay? So that's it. Building in breathing room. And that takes intentionality. That takes purpose. Okay? But we have to do that for ourselves. Allow yourself to be okay with having space in your life. Okay? You don't have, let me just give you permission right now. You do not have to fill every moment of every day with something productive. Do not believe that lie. Okay? There. You have permission from me. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Number 3. We need to keep perspective. Stress can overwhelm us to the point that we become so focused on an issue that our perspective becomes imbalanced or distorted, right? The problem becomes magnified, and the good or the joy in our lives becomes diminished. So we have this distortion going on when stress comes around. Stress can actually change the way that our brain perceives things. It can actually, it makes it actually hard to think rationally sometimes. So when, like, people who deal with anxiety find this to be true as well, that it's this downward spiral in our mind, and it only fuels our stress. Okay, it's like this vicious cycle when we start losing perspective. And sometimes that's really hard when people have full-blown anxiety, and there is an actual chemical change that happens in our brains when that happens. So we need to just be very, very aware of that. So when that happens, we need to ground ourselves in truth and in reality before the stress comes, or to know how to do that when the stress comes. Okay, we need to count our blessings. We need to see the full picture and count our blessings even in the middle of stress. So if you need to, write something out that you can read through when you're experiencing stress. So if you're a follower of Christ, read scripture, pray, okay? Being grounded in these truths can help us recenter and refocus in the middle of stress. Because sometimes our creative minds can go a little crazy, and we can completely lose perspective. So sometimes our minds are too far down that rabbit hole, right, of our stress, and when they lead to a full-blown anxiety attack, which, you know, we've experienced that in our own family, so I'm speaking from experience here. In these circumstances, sometimes it helps to focus on basic things for grounding, like deep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And it's like the simplest things are the most grounding things. So breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth, focusing on 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 emotion you can feel. If you have something written down that is always on hand for when you start to feel this coming on, that can be helpful. Obviously, if you deal with severe anxiety, you and your doctor can figure out if you need a medication to help combat that, and that is up to you guys. So that's not what this discussion is about. This is about general anxiety and stress, anxiety that comes from stress. So those are the 3 things. So you have a go-to stress-reducing activity just for you, that you know what works for you. Building in the breathing room and keeping perspective. And so the most important thing to walk away with today is, like that word from the Scouts, right? Be prepared. So we know that stress will come. So by being prepared ahead of time, we can handle it a little bit better. Okay? So if you found this helpful and you feel like you know somebody that might benefit from just hearing this from someone and just helping formulate a plan for the stress, just invite them. This is a private group, so you have to invite them into the group and then tag them in this video, okay? So please go ahead and invite them. Like, it's an honor of mine to be able to bless this group with information like this. And so if you can just pay that forward and bless somebody else, that would be awesome. So anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. And if you missed it or you're just now hopping on, go back and watch from the beginning, okay? And I hope that this helps you today. All right. Y'all have a wonderful day.